Welcome to the Terrible Podcast with your hosts from SteelersDepot.com, where you can find all your latest and greatest Steelers news. It's Dave Bryan and Alex Kozora, always lit, talking Steelers. And now, here's Dave and Alex.
Welcome to the Terrible Podcast, Season 9, Episode 61. That's Dave Bryan. I'm Alex Kozora, SteelersDepot.com. Happy Friday, Steelers Nation. Dave, how about that KC Chargers game last week? Who's the better team, the Chiefs or the Chargers?
You stole my question. I was going to kind of ask something similar to that to you. Which one of those two would you not want to play if the playoffs started this weekend? And assuming, which is dangerous to do, the Steelers are part of it. Look, these are two teams that, in the Chiefs and the Chargers, it would not be overly surprising if if the matchup, the seeds matched up and all, that these two teams wind up facing each other in the AFC Championship game. I think one of these teams will be in that game, and they both are fun to watch. And the Chiefs did. Look, last night the Chiefs did a lot of things that you need to do in order to win a game like that. They picked off Phillip Rivers twice in that game. A couple of ugly picks. They had some good pressure on Rivers early, the kind that moves him off the spot and or either has him throwing off the back foot there. Their offense looked okay for the most part, but they you don't put teams away like that, and then you get down to an end of game situation where you go. I think they went 3 and out there at the end. A bad run choice followed up by a couple incomplete passes right there. You give the ball back to Phillip Rivers with plenty of time remaining on the clock, and then you get what you get. And then, look, I have no qualms whatsoever with them going for 2 to try to win that thing because they were lucky. In my opinion, they were a little bit lucky to be hanging around at that point as well, too. So, they had lost Keenan Allen in that game to like a hip injury. They were already without their 2 starting running backs in that game on top of it. But the Williams wide receivers, you did well, and that was just, it was a fun game to watch. And like I said, one of these two teams, and maybe both of them, are going to be playing in the AFC Championship.
Yeah, I agree. I think at least one of them makes it. Possibly both. You could see a rematch because you're going to get a wild card divisional winner kind of deal. I don't know who's better right now. Probably still the Chiefs, just because Patrick Mahomes is insane. But the Chargers, have been super underrated, and I'm glad to see them get that attention on a national stage. So it's a good one there. Now, where it's not so good is in Pittsburgh, and there have been a ton of changes, Dave. What has surprised you the most of everything that the Steelers have done since last time we talked, really?
Yes.
Where do you want me to start? I guess with a cornerback, we'll begin there because you have what seems to be, at least, it's not a guarantee, but the indication is for Sunday against New England, Artie Burns is going to start over Cody Sensabaugh at right cornerback, and Cam Sutton is going to start in the slot over Mike Hilton. And I'm all for changes and trying something new, but I got to be honest, those aren't the moves I would have made.
All right, what moves would you have made?
I would have had probably Cam Sutton start on the outside to replace Sensabaugh. Not that Sensabaugh's been terrible, but he's really offering you nothing in terms of splash or impact plays or really anything other than just being a safe guy who's keeping everything in front of him. And then I would have explored some options at dime linebacker with Burnett because he's just not cutting it. So, maybe Marcus Allen, maybe you get creative with Dangerfield. I don't know exactly how much he's done it, but I like him at least as a run defender and a tackler and a kind of a physical presence. So I don't think Hilton's the guy that you want to bench because, yes, he's had a couple of really tough weeks. I understand that, but I think he's still basically the cornerback with your best ball skills. He's good at blitzer, just recorded his first sack. He's a good run stuffer. He's kind of a physical tone setter, and Sutton really isn't an ideal slot guy to me. He's kind of shown that before. And then Burns, maybe he's showing something in practice we haven't seen. I'm sure he's having some good practices, but you're going to put him back in against Tom Brady? All right.
Well, look, they're going to there's a chance we see all those guys on the field at some point.
You think they're good?
Different mix or match or something. I think we're going to see outside of Sensabaugh. I don't think I think the writing on the wall that it's going to be Burns over Sensabaugh, and unless injury happens, I don't think we're going to see Sensabaugh. But I think we could see some mesh of some sort, rotation of maybe some Hilton and some Sutton. Sutton just hasn't played a lot, too. That's another thing that scares you about this, is he just hasn't logged a huge amount of snaps. I mean, who do you ideally want him to line up on? Edelman or Hogan?
Yeah, I mean, Hogan hasn't been super involved for them, so they're going to move guys around, so it's hard to know who you want because they're going to make you match up on different guys.
Right, and they will, and they're going to do that primarily with Gronkowski too, to see what kind. Because look, I mean, a year ago at this time, we had Shaun Davis playing more cornerback, in down low in that matchup with Gronkowski, and for the most part during that game, they matched up okay on Gronk up until that final drive. But, I mean, you have to play. That's the thing. You can play him well for three and three quarters of the game, but if you don't do it for 4 full quarters, you lose the game. Mm-hmm. And we saw in that drive last year, Brady went through to him 4 consecutive times. The first one, wasn't the first one the one that Shaun Davis probably should have picked?
Yeah. Yep.
Over to the left side. And here we go again, talking about shoulda, woulda, coulda, ball skill awareness. I mean, you are probably going to get an opportunity or two to pick off a Tom Brady pass. And you better not let that slip through your hands. Ha ha. That opportunity. But yeah, they are going to move people around. I mean, look, we know what Edelman is. We've seen him with the return routes and the underneath crossers and the quick slants and the seven and the corner routes, that kind of thing. There's no mystique or mystery there how he's going to be used. He's more than likely going to be lined up inside. Gronkowski, they can move him wherever they want to get the matchup that they want. Josh Gordon is a guy that's played, that's come on good for them. A guy that really has owned the Steelers too in limited playing time, going back to several years ago. He's had some monster games against the Steelers. And then Hogan is another Amendola-ish type guy. And then Cordell Patterson, even though he doesn't have many catches, what a heck of a route and throw and catch in the touch, against the Dolphins this past week. And then, they can use those backs out of the backfield. James White, I think, leads the team in receptions. Sony Michel can catch the ball out of the backfield. And, James Devlin and Rex Burkhead are two guys that they're not afraid to move around and then get a matchup against a bigger guy in the passing game as well, too. So I think, back to kind of the original question there, I think you're going to see some mix and match of Burns, of Sutton, of Hilton, obviously of Joe Hayden, and Shaun Davis, and of course Edmonds in there as well too.
I wonder if this is the week where they're going to roll out that dollar package that they showed in training camp with 7 defensive backs. They've only done it literally one play this year. I forget when it was. It was, I think, the first quarter of the season. And if there's a week to do it, it's probably this week because they have all the backs that you mentioned. James White, 76 catches, fourth in the NFL for our running backs, by far leads the team. So, I think that could be a possibility. I'd like to see it. But just, I guess, blanket statement, are you okay with the changes that they're making with Hilton and Sensabaugh?
Look, I mean, anything's better than sitting back, and letting Tom Brady get a beat on you,
Yeah.
And you're right. We could, if there was a week to throw out multiple DBs out on this field, this is the week. And try to look. I want the Patriots to have to try to run as much as possible in this game because it's going to kill a little bit of clock in there. So and that's less time, less plays that maybe they run overall. So yeah, I mean, I'm willing to take my smaller bodies, my smaller body defensive sets or personnel groupings at times. I'm willing to take my chances, against a Patriots run game. You Burnett, hopefully get him on the field in the box and have him play a good game as a run defender along with a guy like L.J. Fort, which we've seen Fort be able to play decent. It's either probably going to be him or Burnett in those situations, as the inside linebacker. But yeah, I have no issue with them trying to change things up. I'm not overly excited about watching Artie Burns line up quite again. I would think Josh Gordon is the guy that he'd see the most of, but I mean we don't expect Hayden to travel either, right?
Well, they haven't traveled Hayden very much the last couple games. It'd be a good day to do it because I think Hayden matches up well against Gordon and had success against him in Week 1 when he saw him in a Cleveland uniform.
So,
I mean, the breakup in the end zone that he had on Gordon on that little post route.
Right.
But I don't know. I mean, do you want to travel? Because then you got to have comfort and Artie to travel, which is a different story.
Right, and that is. And look, they'll just scheme the matchup they're going to want anyway.
Yeah, and to your point, I mean, yeah, you want New England to run, but New England's never run the ball because they felt they had to before. They'll throw it, even if you want them to throw it, because they'll get the matchups, and so it's hard to dictate what New England's going to do because they're just a different beast.
Sure, but here's the thing. I tell you, the guy that scares me the most, in that backfield, well, actually two of them is White as a pass catcher because he's been a daily fantasy play all season just because the way they use him and they move him out in space and all too. And don't sleep on Burkhead or Devlin as pass catchers. I mean, I know those are big guys, but they can get the good matchups with those guys one-on-one. They're going to try to take advantage of them there. And obviously Gronk is Gronk. You had who scares you the most in this game, and I would think that it's probably either Gordon or Gronkowski as far as being able to big play you. Is this the kind of thing where you just say, okay, let Julian Edelman have his 11 catches for 98 yards and just hope he doesn't break a big one, and obviously keep him from standing in the end zone on you. That might be the way that you approach this thing because you can't guard them all, and at some point you're going to have either a safety or a linebacker not have a favorable matchup in this game, and that's just the way. It's just the nature of this thing because unless you roll out all defensive backs out there, which who knows, maybe they will. You're not going to be able to avoid stuff like that.
Like I said, I'd go dollar, which is the 7 defensive backs, a 2-2-7, which I think could work here. In terms of who scares me, I mean, I'll give you the classic Dave Bryan, yes, because you can pick your matchup, throw a dart, and you find a matchup that scares me. I don't know, the Steelers are going to have to play a lot of man coverage in this game. If you spot drop against Tom Brady, you're just going to get destroyed. There's no getting around that. So you're going to play a lot of man, and I don't know on paper where the Steelers have winnable matchups. Maybe whoever Hayden's covering, if that's Gordon or Edelman, you could win there. But White, Gronkowski, Gordon, Hogan, Burkhead, Michelle, I don't know where you have a favorable matchup at.
I don't either. I mean, you obviously going to have some pass rush in this.
Yeah.
You have to move Tom Brady off his spot or get in his face. And we saw if you go back, I don't know if you did or not, go back and watch Brady's interceptions this year. Some of them are people right in his face and trying to throw down the middle of the field. So, that's how you're going to pick him off. Now, look, a couple of those interceptions that he has this year were balls that actually went in and out of his receiver's hands. So there's going to have to, I think, be a little bit of luck in this as well too. Either that, or you're going to have to hit somebody and get one to pop up in the air, but you're going to have to be fortunate, at some point here. And Keith Butler was asked on Thursday. If they are less successful against man, do you what does he say here? Successful against man, do you just have to man up? Talking about more man coverage. Yes, you'd like to, but there are some man up problems that you have. Yeah, no crap. I mean, you can't, as much as we would like and hopefully we do see more man in this game, you just can't you just can't go out there and run man every game, or every snap. And Butler goes on to say everybody does. Everybody is talking about us putting a linebacker and he's explaining why you can't, because everybody's talking about us putting a linebacker on a wide receiver, and sometimes you get into mismatches that you do not like. So you kind of have to pick and choose what you want to do against these guys and try not to let them get a bead on you with what you were doing. And that's the thing that we saw against the Chargers, most notably and most recently, was they try, and to their credit, I think you pointed this out as well too, they tried to mix up, and they even did it this past week against the Raiders as well too, as far as who they were mixing and matching, and against Cook and against some of those kind of spread formations there. And I thought they did a good job of rotating it, especially against the Raiders. The problem is, and I don't think we spent any time on this in the last podcast, they made a great adjustment in that game, and I wrote about it and broke it down. Derek Carr talked about it after the game, about how one minor route adjustment on that deep pass to Seth Roberts late in the game, that was just a route adjustment off of a route that off of one play that they had ran at the start of the fourth quarter there. And the Steelers even had the better personnel in there than they did that first play when Morgan Burnett on the field covering Roberts instead of L.J. Fort, and Burnett ran stride for stride with him. Was Edmonds maybe a tad late in getting over the top? Yes. Does Burnett got to do a better job of ball awareness and getting that head around to play the pocket, so to speak? Yes. And did it take a perfect pass? Yes, but that's the thing that happens if you have all those things that you should have done there. So, and as I said, as against the Chargers as well too, they did a good job of mixing it up for the most part. But you get into a situation late in the game against a good quarterback, he's finally going to figure you out. So they're going to have to mix and match their coverages again extremely well this week against Tom Brady.
I think they have to, you mentioned luck. I think you have to create your own luck, though. And I think the biggest way you do that is by getting your hands up in passing lanes. I think the defensive line has to play a big job in the pass game, obviously getting pressure, but we've been talking about pressure in Tom Brady since 2002. I mean, of course you want to pressure Tom Brady, easier said than done, and even when you do pressure him, he can still beat you. So I think guys have to get their hands in throwing lanes, get some batted balls, which they've done a much better job of the last month, to their credit, to it, Hayward, guys like that. Maybe get a pick that way. That's kind of what I'm looking at there. Who covers Gronk in this one? I know that's a big question, but as you mentioned with the Raiders game, I mean, Keith Butler was one step away from Cam Hayward covering Jared Cook, as he tried to trot everybody he could out there, and really no one had success. So what is your approach to covering Gronk?
I mean, I guess it might be Sutton, right?
Oh, God, I hope not. I mean, Gronk's got 6 inches and 100 pounds.
I mean, I think there's going to be some instances where he's on him.
You think? I think Sutton's going to be over the slot receiver, over an Edelman, over Hope.
I think they try to scheme to get a matchup there. Other than that, I think you could see Morgan Burnett maybe on him as well too. It's going to be interesting because the way they move him around.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, there's really no good matchup. I mean, Burnett would make the most sense because he's a bigger safety. I mean, Sutton can maybe cover Gronk vertical, but on those outbreaking routes, like, who was it? CJ Uzomah from Cincinnati was killing Sutton on those outbreaking routes. I don't know what Gronk's going to do to him. So,
and Cook did as well too. Well, let me ask you this: is this a game that maybe you bring Shaun Davis down a little bit more? Maybe when Morgan Burnett's in the game, maybe him playing more of a Shaun Davis role.
Yeah, it'd be nice, but now I'm worried about Burnett in space, and he hasn't done it. And I mean, it makes some sense. I think obviously you have to do some bracket coverage. I think you can't do just one guy on Gronkowski, and the team knows that. They tried to do that in the past. So I think it's some some two-man, but on third down where you can get a low wall on Gronkowski and take away the inside route, and you have safety up over the top. But yeah, that's going to be the biggest challenge. And not only when Gronk's in the slot, but when he's going to be backside. So they go 3-by-1, Gronk's by himself to the single receiver side. Then what do you do there? I mean, you kind of have to bracket him, and you're going to be playing too high because you can't really play single high out of that. So that's going to be the difficulty is, when he gets isolated, what do you do with Gronk then?
I think the key matchup to watch is Troy Polamalu versus Rob Kirk.
James Ferrier.
Yeah. I'll try
Aaron
to.
Smith's
I'm
pass rush.
doing my best Stephen A. Smith impersonation. By the way, how does somebody do that?
When they're asked to cover everything, you cover nothing. That's the problem with the sports world today.
Geez, just pull up a depth chart or something.
Yeah.
To know that three of the guys that you talked about aren't playing. But I'm scared to death. I know you are of this game and how they. And I thought Daniel did a good job of breaking down what Derek, how much time or lack of time that the Steelers pass rush had in this game against the Raiders as well too. Yes, the Steelers pass rush has been good at points at getting sacks and some pressure this season, but Derek Carr got rid of that football quick, and if you play off and all in certain situations off here and you let Tom Brady get that football out quickly, he's going to. And, of course, when they try to take the deep shots, I'm sure they're going to max protect in there on top of it. I mean, there's probably no better quarterback in the league, better at setting protections and knowing when to slide to who than Tom Brady there. So, if you have to try to get him to move off his first read.
Mm-hmm.
And pat the football. Only then are you going to have a chance with him, because he's at the age now where he doesn't like to move out of the pocket too terribly much. He'll slide out, he'll slide over and up, obviously, but he's not one that likes to escape escape the pocket. He'd much rather turtle and take a sack on you than anything else, So you have to get him to pat that football and maybe try to move him a little bit off of his spot, and as you said, get in his face a little bit. But I think there's going to be instances in this game where you either have to get a strip sack from him, or you're going to have to get a fortuitous bounce or something with like you said, with a tip football or something happening coming in and out of the arms of receiver or something, because I mean, this defense is just not good at trying to create their own luck, like you said.
Yeah, my last thought here, because I want to talk about the kicking situation, and we'll get back to New England. We cover them specifically a little later.
We already did. We broke this whole game down.
I know. I realized that halfway through, but maybe we'll talk about their defense. But I think you made the good point of you have to mix up your coverages. Yes, you want to play a lot of man. Keith Butler played a lot more man coverage last year than he did in most games. But the way that you get Brady off his first read is by disguising coverages. Our tendency breakers are doing things different than he expects.
Which the Steelers have been horrible at this year.
Yeah, that's the only problem is the Steelers haven't done any of that. But if they magically change everything in a week, then things will be better. But if you want to get Brady to hold on to the football, it's not just make him hold on to the football. It's how do you do that? It's got to be mixing stuff up, mixing coverages, disguising things. That's going to be the key. You can't just play. It's like Peyton Manning. You just can't play one thing against him. He's going to figure it out regardless of what you're doing, and you don't have the talent to overcome it. You're not out of Jacksonville quality defense from last year or Baltimore quality defense of this year. So that's the big key there. But
I want Tom Brady to have to throw those outs, those 12-yard outs and deeper toward the sideline. I want him to have to pinpoint those. I want him to have to maybe try to throw the ball more than 20 yards down the field in the middle of the field. And I know that's asking to get your heart ripped out some, but obviously I don't want to see him have to do that against cover two. I'd much rather see that at times be run maybe against a cover three or a cover one kind of robber type situation there. But I would much rather him have to beat me outside the numbers more than 15 yards down the field or inside the numbers more than 20 yards down the field. I don't want him just to have those easy rub routes, because look, we've seen them, the Steelers try in past games, try to play man against them a lot, only to have that rub game of the Patriots just rub them right on off, you know?
Yep.
And so, in other words, when you run into situations like that, that's why I think you're almost resigned to the fact that you have to let Edelman catch 12 passes in this game. Hopefully he drops one or two of them. And then tackle him, do a good job of tackling him after the catch, where his 11 catches or 12 catches are still under 100 yards. And then, you keep him out of the end zone on that as well too. I think that's the way you go into that, into this thinking.
It's funny you mentioned that because I was literally scrolling through my timeline and a tweet from 10 minutes ago popped up. Edelman's last 3 lines against the Steelers: 8 catches, $118 and a touchdown, 9 for 60, 11 for 97, and the Steelers have lost all those games. So I mean, I get it, but it's just I don't know what the track record
right.
there.
It has to be a perfect storm. Now, make no mistake about it. The Steelers played well enough to win that last meeting. The whole Jesse James yada yada. But they didn't win the game. Right? I mean, they should have. Yeah, they did. Blah blah blah. They still got an L in that one.
What's your southerny settings saying? Show me. Don't tell me what the labor pains. Show me the baby.
Yeah. And it's gonna. I'm afraid to look and see what this baby looks like. this baby might look a lot like Tom Brady. But
Tom Brady's been the dad in this scenario.
Yeah.
He's been the baby for 10 years.
You just can't. You gotta make them nickel and dime you. And do so not with the easy pitch and catches like we saw a couple of games ago in what was it, in the playoff game a couple of years ago. I mean, if you sit back in zone and say, well, we're just going to let him take what he wants. He's going to take what he wants.
Mm-hmm.
You've got to force him into making some plays down the field in this situation or in this game, and then hopefully your offense can match with him. Look, I don't think you can. I think you got to hold them under the magic. I wrote about this a couple years ago, like 22 points. I think with Brady it is 21 or 22 points. I think you got to hold him underneath there because. I think that's going to be the key to the game. If they bust that number, I don't like the Steelers' chances. And obviously, I mean, you go back and look at what the Patriots have done and point production and stuff like that. I think that's kind of the magic number. I think you have to steal at least one possession and maybe two in this game. And obviously, the way we saw the Steelers beat the Patriots a number of years ago is keep Tom Brady off the field. Well, that's easier said than done.
Absolutely. So one thing they'll also need for this Sunday is a kicking game, and they're sticking with Chris Boswell. Basically, all but confirmed they're not going to make a change now. They brought in a name I haven't heard of in a long time, Shaun Suisham, to I guess consult and just try to help Boswell work through this thing. But they're keeping Boswell for now. They had Kai Forbath in for an extended workout, but they're sticking with Bos. Is that the right decision?
I don't think so, but
really,
I mean, what, to keep Boz? I don't.
Yeah.
I don't think it's the right. I don't think it's the right decision. I think. Look, he said it's mechanical. It's mental. He said it's everything right now. I mean, that's not the kind of tell me it's mechanical and lie to me and tell me it's not the mental.
All right, but it's mental. You know.
Yeah, I do. But I sometimes I'm better off not hearing that.
Ignorance is bliss. Yeah.
But I mean, I think you're asking for one more key miss here, or maybe more at this point. I think he's damaged right now, and I don't know unless it's something that Shaun Suisham can come in there and identify right away or something. I don't know. I worry. Look, I said this the other day. You get what you get now. There is no sympathy for anybody or involved in this at this point if he misses another big kick or extra point or anything for you at this point moving forward. I understand them wanting to be loyal to him with the contract and all like that. But let's face it, you only lose $600,000 in cap space technically by cutting him. Yeah, you had the whole $4.8 million in dead money, but he was scheduled to earn 4.2 next year anyway. Is it worth it to try to make this thing work out because of a cash and cap situation here? He doesn't exude confidence when he talks to the media. There's one thing you can say about Jeff Reed. He didn't lack confidence when he talked to the media, right?
Okay, I guess I'll give you that.
You know, but with Boswell, you kind of look at him and he looks. I mean, he like a lost puppy dog right now. So,
well, that could just be his personality. He's
Yeah.
never been a super up. I mean, even when things were good, he's never been a real big personality type.
So look, I mean, if they stick with him, and and bring in Suisham now, and he's able to work his way through this, and make you some big kick. Who knows? Maybe if he makes a big, let's say a game-winning kick against the Patriots, maybe that's all that it takes to get that mechanism.
Mm-hmm.
And look, I laugh about this, but mental issues. Whether it be the whole Steve Sachs thing, or getting the yips with a pitcher or something like that. I mean, it's serious stuff,
Mm-hmm.
and I talk from experience, with being mania bipolar and having mental issues. It's not as easy as just bringing a guy in.
Right.
Another kicker in and stuff like that. There's these little mechanisms in the brain and all, and sometimes it's hard to get them to flip the other way. And who knows? Maybe a game-winning kick or a big kick against the Patriots can be enough to flick that switch back over for him to be back the person that he was. How much does him having money now play a part in this? The pressure. Oh wow, this is a job now.
Mm-hmm.
They're paying me millions of dollars to do this now.
Right.
Right. How much of that has played a role in this? And it's not like this just hasn't started happening the last few weeks. It's been happening all season long, and started in the first game against the Browns as well too. So look, I'm no expert on kickers. I'm not going to pretend to be, but I've been at stage 8 in the worried category for quite a while with him.
I know trusting this team and their decision making is a little sketchy right now, but I think when it comes to kicking, I would have been okay with either move. Keeping Boswell, cutting Boswell, I would have understood. But let me say this about Boswell: since the Baltimore game, so before the Oakland game, from week 4 to week 13. Boswell's stats were 27 to 30 on extra points, 9 to 10 on field goals. Those aren't the best numbers, missing 3 extra points, but they're not terrible either. We really weren't having a big conversation about cutting Bos until the Oakland game. Now, obviously, the Oakland game was bad, but is that going to lose your job just off of that? So I felt like, from that big middle portion of the season, Boswell had kind of evened out, and it hadn't become as big of a concern. Still not where he needed to be, not as good as last year or the year before. But he had been better than I think people realize. Again, 9 to 10 on field goals, 27 to 30 on extra points.
Okay, and all it takes is one miss, another missed one moving forward, and he's probably out of there.
Yeah, but I'm just saying that he had started to figure out his issues from that really tough start to the year. So he's bounced back from bad stretches before, and that gives me some confidence going forward.
I've almost not been an alcoholic several times during my life. You get what I'm saying, right? It was bad enough that they brought in a couple other guys to look at. So
I thought it was weird the way they handled the whole thing. They didn't bring in anyone till Wednesday. Then they kept Forbath for Thursday and waited to Boswell to see how his practice would go. I think that was a whole. Even Pat McAfee said he's never heard of that before. It's a weird situation.
I agree, and I said like my old man used to tell us as kids, poop or get off the pot.
Yeah. Right.
Don't. Tim, I think I mentioned something along the lines of this the other day. It's almost like, okay, we start off with putting him in timeout, then we put a bar of soap in his mouth, and then back to time. Then we take his Atari away from him, or his Game Boy away
his
from
Atari. Oh, how old are you?
Take his Game Boy, his Nintendo Game Boy away from him at that point. Then we we threatened that we send him to bed without dinner, and then now we're threatening to put him on restriction for 3 weeks. Sooner or later you got to follow through with your threats, is what I'm getting at there. But look, we'll see. Hopefully, like I said, hopefully in another week or two we're talking about, man, can you imagine this guy's made incredible turnaround, a couple of huge game-winning kicks he's made, or maybe not game-winning kicks. He's hit all 4 field goals from 40 plus out, whatever. We'll see.
Yeah, so like I said, it's tough to predict a kicker. Just have to see what happens. One last story I wanted to get to in terms of kind of all the different changes and new faces being brought in. You wrote about the story, Dave, so you can probably speak better to it than I can. But the Steelers, not about confidence in the coaching staff, bringing in former linebackers coach Jim Herman to work with the defense this week. If you're Joey Porter, if you're Jerry Olszewski, that's not a good sign for them.
Yeah, but we don't know what level he's being brought in at. We don't know how often maybe this might happen during the season that we don't know about. You would think it would get reported if somebody.
I imagine it's pretty rare.
I would too, but I think isn't Aditi Kinkobala the only one that's reporting this as well too? Why isn't the major media? I mean, the local media. Have you seen the local media? Or have they just not noticed?
I assume that it's true. I don't know why. Can't speak to why anyone else hasn't talked about it.
All right, and the long and short of it, Aditi reports that the Steelers brought in longtime linebackers coach Jim Herman to work with their defense this week. I only know him really most recently because of last season ahead of breaking down the game against the Colts, right? Was that last year?
Yeah, that was. I mean, he was Bostic's coach last
year.
Right,
right, and seeing him do a couple of breakdowns of that game, I think after the fact, it was either before the fact or after the fact. Anyway, that's how I came about to already know who he was by watching some tape segments with him. This is a guy though that his roots. This is quite interesting. When you peel away the layers of the onion in this one. It's quite interesting. He obviously he played his college football at Michigan, and then he coached for quite a while at Michigan, linebackers and then defensive coordinator at Michigan. Who was the quarterback at one time for Michigan?
Drew Henson. No, I think it was Tom Brady.
It was Tom Brady. He was the defensive coordinator there when Tom Brady was the quarterback at Michigan throughout his career there. Now, this is also the same Jim Herman that has been the linebackers coach for the New York Giants, for the New York Jets, and obviously the Colts. Now, this is the same Jim Herman who was the linebackers coach for the Giants the season that they beat the Patriots twice. Once during the regular season and once during the Super Bowl. And then during the time that he was with the Jets, I think the Jets beat Tom Brady and the Patriots once or twice, I think, during the span of, 6 or 7 games or whatnot that they played against him there, too. So this is a guy in Jim Herman that has had to scheme quite a bit against Tom Brady, and with some success on top of it. So maybe with that, I bet he knows what shoe size Tom Brady wears. Mm-hmm. Those kind of things. So, with I don't have qualms with them going this route. I'll tell you this. And as far as Jerry Olszewski and Jerry Porter, Joey Porter, Jerry Porter too, probably for that but Joey Porter and Jerry Olszewski, maybe this is a little bit of a writing on the wall. With these guys. But I have no qualms with them bringing in another set of eyes, and especially that set of eyes that has had some past success against Tom Brady.
Agreed. Get all the help you can get. No doubt about that. I know that's not a vote of confidence to your coaching staff, but probably with good reason. Maybe there's not a lot of confidence in this coaching staff right now. So a big week, season's on the line. That's what Tomlin has apparently told his team all week. You guys know what's at stake. Playoffs will basically start now for the Steelers these next couple weeks if they want to get into this thing and finish the season off. So get all the help you can. I have no problem with it. And maybe, just speculation, maybe if they make a change of defensive coordinator, maybe they call up Jim Herman. So I don't know. We'll see what happens.
He's definitely a guy to remember the name, I think. Especially if this season does not play out well the rest of the way.
Yep, absolutely. Where did you want to go from here?
How about let's talk about some injuries?
Yep.
James Conner and Marcus Gilbert did not practice again on Thursday. Obviously, there's no way Gilbert's playing this week at this point. And James Conner, I mean, look, I know Randy Fichtner was asked yesterday during his press conference, does James Conner have to practice at all this week? And I know Dr. Mel has written up another nice article for us on the possibility of James Conner playing. Man, it doesn't match what the Steelers normally like to do. I'm not saying that he's not going to play, but man, if he doesn't practice today, you really have to wonder about it. And it goes back to him being ruled out so early last week on Tuesday by Tomlin. I know Tomlin said he had a good week and all. This would be one heck of a cat and mouse game if you're not practicing him on Wednesday and Thursday and then let him go limited. Maybe he's close enough that you do get him into a game time decision on Sunday. But even if he does play, is he going to be a full James Conner type guy? Or are you still going to, there's so much unknown with him right now. But if I was to bet on this right now, I would have to bet, obviously, that James Conner sits this one out.
Yeah, I think that's the way things are going. Him not practicing in 2 weeks. I know Fichtner said he's gotten a lot of reps, and obviously he has, but still a second-year guy, hasn't practiced in 2 weeks. Probably not going to play, but that's not a surprise.
The only other things injury-related, Justin Hunter, we found out that shoulder injury ended up being a torn labrum. He's going to have to go under the knife anytime now, it sounds like. He's probably played his last snap for the Steelers. Even if they were to re-sign him during the offseason to another minimum salary benefit contract, to compete in training camp, I can't wrap my brain around him being back one more year. Well, I don't care if he's from
757.
Yeah, the 757. I cannot see it. So shame that it has to end with him that way. Eli Rogers, who remains on the reserve PUP list, evidently worked with the first team offense some this past week. Here's the thing with him. You have until next, I think, Tuesday at 4 o'clock to make a decision on him, and that's when his 21-day window runs out. Now, if your running backs get healthy enough, if you think James Conner is healthy enough, you can make a move there to put Edmonds, the running back Edmonds, to waive him, to release him, and then put Eli back on the 53 at that point. But even so, that's a lot of wide receivers on the roster at that point. I mean, I guess you get yourself back into a situation where one would be down every week, and that one could potentially be Eli Rogers, but at least you getting back on the 53-man roster at that point, moving forward there. So, to me, that's the only way that you're, barring an injury this week, that's the only way you're going to get Eli back on the roster next week is to waive Trey Edmonds and then activate Eli Rogers. And that's all assuming you stay healthy and don't need that roster spot for anything else.
Right. Yeah, I think you're going to be without Conner and Gilbert this weekend. Everyone else is going to play. Rogers, probably not activated. They'll probably wait, but who knows? I guess we'll see what happens there. Dave, coordinators Randy Fichtner, Keith Butler talked to the media yesterday. I didn't have a whole lot that I took away from it, but anything did they say stuck out to you?
Yeah, just looking at the quote sheet here, I think we hit on. Look, I mean, Keith Butler has heard about all these cries for him to be fired. He says, let's see, you had the direct quote there when he was asked about respond to people criticizing his coaching and calling for him to be fired, or is this he was asked about Mike Tomlin and how he responds. He says, I don't know if he changes that. I don't think he's got time to change his attitude. If any of us start harping on stuff that's kept us from being successful, then it's hard to get down the road and get to the next game, because we do not have time to feel sorry for ourselves when we lost 3 in a row, because no one is going to feel sorry for us. I can guarantee that. The next 3 games we have are going to be vital for us, and I think we have to concentrate on who we play, which is the New England Patriots. And he goes on to say, does he respond to that pressure, talking about Tomlin? Do you see a guy that buckles in? He says, no, I don't see him doing that. He's been in the heat before. This isn't his first rodeo, as you would say. So all of us get bothered by losing. Our jobs are depending on winning and losing, and the more you lose, the more of a chance of not keeping your job. Nobody likes that job, so all of us are human. We're what does he say? No, nobody likes that job, so all of us are human. We're going to try as hard as we can to do the best that we can, but we're not going to change the successful things we've done either. We are not going to go away from that. So we'll see what happens. And he was asked, what are the things that they've been successful at? And he talks about the pressure and the sacks and some of the passing game and stuff like that. But I thought that was kind of the biggest, quote, and he wouldn't answer the question about whether or not Artie Burns was going to be in a starting lineup this week. I think a lot of us kind of had figured that out by now. And as far as Randy Fichtner goes, was there anything that stuck out to you that Randy Fichtner said?
No, not really. He's a pretty even-keeled guy, pretty reserved. So I didn't hear anything other than him joking about John Norwick and hopefully getting Connor back.
Yeah, he's asked about Juju Smith-Schuster, even a better fit outside. He goes, the more slot-capable guys you have, and he says he'll go on records as probably most offensive coaches in this league will say, it's hard to have one you trust enough, let alone maybe 2. And when you start pushing the envelope with guys who can handle that inside position and yet they can go outside, it's a luxury. So in other words, and look, it really is. I mean, Juju has really stepped up big time. I mean, you look back at his rookie season and you think, man, how much, the way he was playing from the midpoint of the season on, and you wonder, man, that guy's probably pretty close to his ceiling at this point. He really has moved past that, and he really is showing that he can play not only inside in the slot, but he can function outside as well. And he really has had a nice second season for sure.
There was one thing that actually Fichtner did talk about. He talked about it in Coordinator's Corner with Bob Labriola. He talked about it with the general media, and it's something you wanted to touch on as well. The screen game, how important the screen game has been to Pittsburgh, and how those go down as passes, obviously. But when you look at balance has been a huge thing. Pass run splits, people analyzing it every which way. If you include the screen game in the run game, which they do, Fichtner says, quote, it's a run for us. We have them listed as runs. They're in the run category. That probably skews the numbers to the passing side even more when it should be really credited to the run game.
And I agree. I mean, there's a lot being made during this losing streak about run-pass balance. And I think I broke it down. What did I put on Twitter yesterday in this last 3 or 4 games, or 4 games, I think? 40 of the completions that Roethlisberger has are balls that traveled 1 or less yards past the line of scrimmage. So that's a lot of dump-offs. That's a lot of screens, okay? Those averaged well over 6 yards per carry. or 6 yards per touch reception. You're not getting that out of your running game. And say what you will, the running game, and you can speak to this because you wrote about this too this past week. The running game, the run blocking. How come everybody all of a sudden turns their head, about Mike Munchak when something like when the running game's not there? Now, have there been instances where Jalen Samuels is probably not pressing the hole properly or not taking what he should? Yes, there have been. But I mean, we're not talking a lot of carries there, and really probably the same can be said in earlier before James Conner got hurt as well too. But they have not run the ball successfully at all during these last 4 games. And why are you going to try to run more when you run poorly? Some people on Twitter saying, "Oh, just stick. You got to stick with the run. You got to stick with it, even when it's not working." No, you don't. I personally, and I hope we see this against the Patriots. I'd like to see them get these offensive linemen on the move more. Mm-hmm. What do you think about that? Instead of just trying this inside zoned 2-man, tandem, but read the bubble and go. I'd like to see them get these guards and these tackles on the move more.
Well, I just want them to be effective regardless of what they do. I think I want to have a more downhill style against the Patriots, but you can get on the perimeter a little bit. I just think, and you mentioned this as well, and it's intuitive, just you don't have to run the ball that often, but just be effective when you do it. And that's been the issue with this team. And game circumstance hasn't helped. So they've used the screen game to substitute the run game, and that's been effective because that's, for example, what Jalen Samuels does a lot better than running the football right now. So I think there's a lot of context that has to be taken into consideration when you look at balance. We have to look at game circumstance. We have to look at the actual passes being called and, what's been effective in the passing game, clearly more effective than the run game.
This offense moves the football fine. Mm-hmm. Yep. There is no rule of how you have to move the football down the field last I looked. Now, the narrative should be on they need to do better when they need to do a better job running the football when they choose to run the football.
And that's true. That's a true narrative.
That is a true narrative because they have not been great at running the football, especially in the last 4 weeks. So, that's what the narrative should be. I mean, look, you go back, you look did the Chiefs not running the football last night through 3.5 quarters end up being the reason why they lost that game? If anything, you could say that they ran the football one too many times on that 1st and 10 late in the ball game, when that got sniffed out there. You have to look at the screen game as being part of an extended running game. Roethlisberger said that. How many times has Roethlisberger said that over the years? How many times did Todd Haley say that over the years? And now you have Randy Fichtner saying that now. It is an extension of the run game. So, when you do hand the ball off, you just have to be better of how you block that up, and you have to start running better, especially early in the game.
Yep, and I'm sure we have convinced 0 people of that.
I'm sure as well too. And look, if you go back, how many times had the Steelers had what did I write on Twitter yesterday? 6 plays in the last 4 games have they run an offensive play with the lead, either tied or with the lead.
Well, for the entire game?
Huh?
Was that for the fourth quarter?
No, for the fourth quarter.
Okay.
They have run, I forget what the amount of plays I have.
Not many plays.
Right, but how many? The total amount of fourth quarter plays this offense has run. I don't have the tweet in front of me here, but
I get your point.
They've only 5 or 6 plays have been run with them tied or with the lead, and a lot of them trailing has been oftentimes by more than 3 points too. Yeah. So, do you really want them to run in those situations?
No. Move the ball through the air with Ben.
All right. Where are we now?
I was going to get to New England in a second, but I don't know if you want to talk about our friends at MyBookie and what they have to offer.
Absolutely. What's the buzz there right now? You know, the casino's open. I'm sure that's the big thing with the
first bet was, I think, $11,000 against the Steelers this weekend at Rivers Casino.
Well, there you go.
Which is not from me, by the way. It's not my bet. For the record.
They could get you to bet $11 on it.
They could not.
Smart kids, stay away from the man. Maybe. Unless you listen to this podcast and get my superior advice. And look, Alex has done pretty good picking against the spread so far this year. But look, sure, watching football is fun, but it's more. What did you think about the report saying that being able to bet more kind of helps ratings more? I think that people are more apt to pay more attention to a game if they have money on it, and I agree with that.
It's like fantasy football. That's why half the people watch a game because of the fantasy games.
Sure, watching football is fun, but it's more entertaining when you have some action on the games. Guys and gals, you've heard me talking about this for weeks, and some of you are still on the sidelines. Whether you're an expert or a rookie, you should be betting at mybookie.ag. If you're the kind of guy or gal that likes to bet a little and win a lot, like playing the numbers on a roulette table, you can create a big parlay. All you need to do is pick 3 teams to win, and if you hit all 3, you can turn 100 into 600. And look, you don't have to just play 3 teams. You can play 14, 5 teams, 16, 18 parlays and on. If you have that good of idea of what's going to happen during the weekend, you can turn a little bit of money into a lot. There's so much to bet on here at mybookie.ag. College basketball, the football bowl season is opening up now. In fact, on Saturday, and look for our young Daniel to have a nice write-up for all the yins about some prospects to keep an eye on here, bowl season here. NBA, NHL, custom props, even esports, you name it, you can bet on it at mybookie.ag. They are the one bet I know you'll be happy with all year. I recommend these guys because I really trust them. MyBookie has been in business for years. They've got great online reviews, and their mobile site is very easy to use. Sign up now, and MyBookie will give you 50% deposit bonus to jumpstart your bankroll. It's a great way to bank even more money when you win. Also, make sure to follow MyBookie on Twitter at BetMyBookie. They personally respond to every mention in direct message. Not to mention they've given away already this year $10,000 in free money to their followers this football season. You'll be the first to know as soon as new odds and props are posted by following at BetMyBookie. Don't miss out now on one of the best weeks to bet on sports this year. Log on to MyBookie right now. Use promo code TERRIBLE, or as Charles Barkley would say, terrible, to get 50% deposit bonus. That's promo code TERRIBLE. You play, you win, you get paid. And I got paid last night for having the Patriots plus the points, and I think you had the Patriots.
You said Patriots.
the Chargers plus the points, and I think you had them as well there. Is this now where we're going to get into our picks or no?
Well, let's review the Patriots. I know we mentioned their offense a lot, but just any final thoughts on what you're worried about with the Patriots offense?
Yeah, I think we hammered that home. Now I flip over to the other. You already have a great write-up scouting report on the Steelers offense versus that defense. I mean, not a lot that we haven't kind of seen before with them. They can do multiple things up front, right? So why don't you kind of break down what you've seen and what you expect the Steelers to do to attack that?
Yeah, it's a defense for the Patriots that isn't particularly great statistically against the run, and the pass defense has been above average but not amazing. But I think it's a really well-coached team, a really well-disciplined team. It's multiple. They can run a 4-3, a 3-4, a 3-3-5. They do an amoeba package with just one defensive lineman in obvious pass situations. I think it's a group that you can run on. I would try to do more of a downhill interior run game, some power. Miami had success with power last week in their last-second win against the Patriots. In the passing game, it's going to be tough because Bill Belichick does such a good job of taking away your best guys. And, of course, he's going to bracket AB. And really what I expect him to do is bracket AB with, like, his second-best corners, J.C. Jackson, the rookie corner from Iowa, and a safety, over the top, and then you put Stephon Gilmore, their best corner, one-on-one with Juju. So you have bracket coverage on Steelers' best guy and your best cover corner on the Steelers' second best guy in Juju. And that's kind of the approach he takes a lot. So he just does a great job of scheming guys and bracketing them and taking them away. And that's going to be the big concern. Is while they don't have insane talent, I think the secondary is good. And I think they get enough of a pass rush, and they have multiple guys they use there with some talented linebackers. Landon Roberts is probably an underrated guy. So yeah, a lot of concern with this Patriots defense.
What's been going on with Van Noy lately? He wasn't he inactive last week? I think he was dealing with an injury for a little bit there, but he went from. I think he's still currently their leader in tackles.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's got 83 of them. I'm not totally sure what's going on there with the injury report. I don't think I checked the injury report from yesterday, but he's been their top guy. He'll play with his hand up, hand down, and he's a really big asset because they're a multiple defense. So if you want to put him with his hand down, he can do that. Move him around, play off ball. He can do that as well.
I'm trying to remember if he was inactive. I'm trying to look real quick to see if he was inactive last week. If he's not on the end, look, you want to talk about a healthy team?
Yeah, he played last week.
Was he active last week?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay, yeah. He's not on the injury report. In fact, they only have two players on their injury report. That's Dwayne Allen and Stephon Gilmore with an ankle, and both those guys have practiced fully on both Wednesday and Thursday. So this is the health. You want something else to get worried about? This is the healthiest the Patriots have probably been all season, according to their injury report. So, which we all know. Kind of the games that they play with that, but you would think that there's going to be opportunities with the way they're going to do their best to bracket AB. We saw, and I think you got some great cut-ups with how them bracketing in this last game, and we've seen them do it in past games against AB as well too. Juju's going to have to win. And there are going to be opportunities here in this game for the Steelers to run the football, I think.
Yeah, like I said, they don't have to run the football 50 times, but when they run it, it needs to be effective. Patriots have, I think, the 29th ranked run defense in terms of yards per carry. They don't give up a ton of rushing touchdowns, though, so they are more stingy there. But, that was the same story with Oakland, though, was that you could run on them, and they didn't. The Patriots will try to take away your interior run game by aligning, guys over guards and play this bear front over the center and the guards. So it'll be interesting. I'll be interested to see what the Steelers' run scheme is. But I think, assuming Connor doesn't play, you want more of a downhill scheme. I want less perimeter runs because, A, you don't have the guys to do it. And I think the Patriots are a disciplined enough defense that they're going to make it tough to try to run on the outside. So my approach is power, inside zone, lead strong with Rosie, get downhill.
There's no reason why this offense should not put up at least what, 24, 25 points at least?
Well, they should, but the Patriots are going to have a really good game plan, and they're going to make every throw difficult, and that's the concern with them, is that they may not have the most talented defense, but they scheme it as well as anybody.
Yeah, they don't have a lot of sacks. They don't, the pressure's not great at times.
Yeah, Trey Flowers is a good one, 6.5 sacks this year. He's kind of been the only guy. But they move him around inside, outside. He does a lot for him.
All right, what else do we have? Ready to get after some picks here?
Yeah, let's do our picks.
All right, like I said, Alex and I were both on the Chargers Thursday night, so we got the W there. Let's start off Houston at the Jets there. Houston, of course, coming off of a loss as well, but playing up on the road in New York. The Jets plus a touchdown, +7 at home.
Houston, you said? Houston Jets?
Yeah, Houston Jets.
Okay. I know, yeah, I think I had Houston getting the loss last week, so I'm patting myself on the back for that one, but I'll say Houston bounces back and covers here.
I wonder what's the weather supposed to be up like your way?
It's going to, I think, be actually in the 40s this weekend. It's going to be pretty decent in Pittsburgh. I don't know about anywhere else, but Pittsburgh.
All right, I'll have to take a closer look at this one, but I think J.J. Watt's going to be a little bit too much for that Jets front there. So give me Houston late a 7 here. Cleveland at Denver. Man, this is an interesting line here because Denver obviously lost outside of Sutton. Sutton's their only wide receiver notable at this point. Now they do have Philip Lindsay. Going to be interesting to see if they're able to get Denver's able to get him going on the ground against a good Cleveland defense. It'd be interesting to see Baker Mayfield play on the road in Mile High. Denver at home laying 2.5 against the Browns.
Yeah, this one is tough, man. Cleveland has looked so good. They have a gem in Mayfield. I mean, he's going to be their guy for 10 years. Give me Cleveland in this one. I guess I'm feeling dangerous, like Baker Mayfield.
I think this is a trap, and I'm not going to fall for it. Give me Denver to win this one by a last-second field goal, so they'll cover that 2.5 points. Give me Denver minus 2.5. Dolphins off the big win against New England, last-second win. Go on the road against Minnesota. Minnesota's a mess right now. Fired their DiFilippo, their offensive coordinator. They're paying Kirk Cousins a lot of money to put up, but not a lot of points right now. They do obviously have a great Diggs and Thielen, great receiver core. Minnesota at home, laying a 7.5.
Ooh, that's a big line. Yeah, I'm going to go with Minnesota because I do think they bounce back, but it is funny. They signed Kirk Cousins, they got Kirk Cousins, and they're shocked by what Kirk Cousins is doing. I mean, he's just playing like the same old okay Kirk Cousins, and people are surprised by it.
Yeah, I think Minnesota rebounds this time. So you're taking what?
I'm taking Minnesota.
I'm taking Minnesota later points at home as well, too. Oakland Raiders at Cincinnati Bengals. The Bengals at home laying 3 in a who cares kind of game.
Yeah, give me Oakland. Maybe that's just a hat tip to them after what they did to Pittsburgh. But that offense can move the football. I think that defense is improving with Conley and Joseph. So Cincinnati's been a mess. No A.J. Green. I think Burfict's not going to play, which I think's got a concussion. So give me Oakland.
Yeah, I'm with you on this as well, too. Hey, maybe it's just because I want to feel better about the Steelers losing to the – I mean, you watch what they did offensively. And you think, well, why can't they be that effective against a team like the Bengals? I don't know. Maybe this is recency bias working its way into my head here. Give me the Raiders plus the 3 on the road against the Bengals. Tampa Bay at Baltimore. Joe Flacco back, but back as the backup. They're winning with Lamar Jackson throwing for less than 200 yards or maybe running for 100 yards a game. Tampa is Tampa. Jeez, I mean, there's no way Baltimore loses this game, right? The only question is how much will they win it by? Baltimore laying 7.5 at home.
I'm going to take Baltimore to win, but Tampa covers. Remember, Tampa almost beat the Saints last week. They were up until the Saints had to come back in typical Saints fashion. So I think Baltimore wins, but I think it's a close score.
I'm not buying it. I'm taking Baltimore to bury him here. So I'm laying the 7.5. Dallas on the road against Indianapolis. Indianapolis playing for their playoff lives at this point. By the way, Los Angeles clinched a playoff spot last night. Obviously, the Chiefs are in. I mean, this is shaping up to who's going to win the North and who's going to get the other wild card. I mean, and we've kind of been that way for a little bit. If Indianapolis wants to keep their playoff lives, alive and well, they damn sure better win at home against the Cowboys, against a good Cowboys defense at that. Colts laying 3 at home. Something smells fishy about. I would think this would be more of maybe a pick'em game. I don't know. What do you got?
Yeah, I know it's going to be a great game. This one's tough. I'm going to go Dallas because they are really playing well. That defense has improved so much. This one could go either way, but I'm going to go Dallas by a couple points.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Dallas to win this one outright as well. So I want the 3 points there. Detroit at Buffalo. Another, yawner. Buffalo at home, -2.
Yeah, you could go either way. I'll go Buffalo because Josh Allen has legitimately played well. That defense is strong, and Detroit's just been a mess. I mean, Kenny Galladay's been really quiet. The defense hasn't played well. Give me Buffalo.
Detroit wins this by 1. Last-second field goal. Give me the Lions plus 2 points. Green Bay on the road against the Bears. And here we are talking about who would have thought this? The Bears laying 5.5 at home against a Green Bay team that has a healthy Aaron Rodgers. Who would have thought we would have saw this at the beginning of the season? But that's where we are. Bears laying 5.5.
Yep, give me Chicago by a touchdown. Vic Fangio, the defensive coordinator, has been fantastic. Matt Nagy, great job offensively. It's a really good Chicago team. Quarterback's a little shaky, but that defense picks him up.
I'm taking Green Bay plus the points, man.
Ooh.
I think Green Bay can beat them outright. I mean, you keep Mack in check, I think they can get this done. So give me Green.
Easier said than done.
Oh yeah, wouldn't it be nice to have a pass rusher like that on the Steelers? Yeah, give me Green Bay plus 5.5. Tennessee on the road at the New York Giants. The Fighting G-Men laying 1.5, and Tennessee is another one of these teams that, three games left. You can't afford to lose many of them. Are they going to lose to the Giants on the road?
And that's why I'm going to pick Tennessee because they know what's on the line. I think Vrabel's going to keep that room together, so give me Tennessee by field goal.
Yeah, me too. Give me Tennessee plus the 1.5 here. Washington on the road against Jacksonville. Sanchez, right? Still?
Mm-hmm. Oh, no, Josh Johnson's going to start.
Oh, Josh Johnson's going to start. That's right.
Yep.
In this one, yeah, that's not even. That's not it. That's still bad against that Jaguars defense. Jaguars laying 7.5. I'll go first on this one. I'll take the Jaguars lay to 7.5.
These games fall into two categories this weekend, either really good or dumpster fire. And this is dumpster fire, but yeah, give me Jacksonville to win by 10.
Arizona Cardinals on the road in Atlanta. Against Matty Ice. Falcons favored by 10. I'll go first on this one as well too. Falcons offense will show up. It should be fine in this one. That defense should be fine as well too. So I'm going to lay the 10. It's a big number, but I'm going to lay it with the Falcons at home.
I will too, but I think the game's going to be close. It'll land on a Josh Rosen pick 6 to kind of seal the deal. But that Zona defense is better than people think because Zona's out west and they don't get talked about. But Atlanta wins by 2 scores.
Seattle on the road against San Francisco. Several weeks ago, I said, look, for those of you that like using my bookie, you get some nice odds on Seattle to win it all. This year, and that was before they played the Green Bay game, I think. The Seahawks, that defense is for real, and that offense can do just enough. If Seattle makes it in the tournament, so to speak, watch out, is all I'm saying. They get the 49ers on the road. This is a game Seattle should win. 49ers are getting 3.5 in this one.
They're getting 3.5?
Or San Francisco's getting 3.5. What
okay.
did I say?
No.
San Francisco's at home plus 3.5.
Yeah, I was just surprised by the line. Seattle for sure.
I'm going to take Seattle to cover this one as well too. Let's see. Philadelphia at the Rams. Wentz has got medical issues. We're going to see some Foles, it sounds like. Rams coming off of a loss there. Give me the Rams minus 12 at home.
Yeah, same thing. Yeah, Wentz isn't going to play. It doesn't sound like he's going to play the rest of the year. I think that's just kind of it for Philadelphia, so give me the Rams.
All right, that's the Sunday night game. The Monday night game, New Orleans Saints at Carolina Panthers. Panthers are about cooked now at this point. Can they hang with the Saints? The Panthers are getting 6.5 points at home.
Nope, I don't think they can. I think they're done. Give me the Saints.
Give me the Saints lay the points in that one as well, too. That brings us, of course, to the New England Patriots at the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Steelers are at home right now, according to my bookie, getting 3 points.
Yeah, I mean, they could win this game, and I'm not even saying that just in the literal any team can win any game kind of thing. This would be a very Steelers game to bounce back and win. They know how much is on the line. Basically, their season is on the line almost at this point, and they could win this, but just defensively, I don't know how many answers they're going to come up with. The last thing with the Patriots offense is I know they're going to go empty. I know they're going to spread the field. They're going to force the Steelers to try to cover one-on-one and disguise blitzes and things like that because Butler wants to blitz so much. I got New England 30-21 over Pittsburgh.
This is, like you said, like we said at the start of the week too, it would be a very Steelers thing to do to win this game. They have the talent to win this game. This is not the Patriots juggernaut teams that we've seen play Pittsburgh in the past. The problem is they're just worried about that defense. I think the Steelers offense can score some points in this game, but can they play 4 full quarters against them? There's no way I can look anybody in the face on this podcast Is that an idiom or what? Or am I the idiot? Yes.
Commenting.
Yes. There's no way they're going to have to prove it to me. They're going to have to prove it to me. Had they done a better job in the last couple games, and that pass defense played better against Los Angeles, and the Raiders, and they won both those games, I'd be more apt to pick them in this game. But this is one of the games that obviously a lot of people have had circled all year, and they're going to have to prove to me that they can beat a good team such as the Patriots and Tom Brady. And I don't think that they can. So I have the Steelers covering in this. So that got it. Put the big bet down on the Patriots. I think he's going to lose this one. But I have the Patriots kicking a last-second field goal in this one to win 29-27 over the Steelers here. So that's the way I think this one turns out. Look, we're not gonna be shocked. We're not gonna be talking about, oh my God, we can't believe the Steelers won this game. But I think in order for them to have won this game, or for us to be talking about a win on Monday, it's going to have to be a couple of stolen possessions, right? A special teams touchdown, I don't know, block punt. They're going to have to steal a possession or two in this game. I just don't see if you don't get at least two turnovers in this game. Talking about the Steelers defense, I'm trying to wrap my brain around how you can win this game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they have to create a turnover.
And Roethlisberger is going to have to be, almost damn near perfect. They're going to obviously have to have some big plays in this. So, if we're talking about a Steelers win, I think that's what we're talking about, is how they stole a couple of possessions, how maybe a fortuitous bounce or something in and out of a receiver's hands, or like you talked about, a defender getting his arms up, deflecting a pass, something like that. Is going to have to have happened.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then my last thought is watch out for the Patriots special teams. Patterson in the return game, and they've blocked 3 punts this year. They blocked 2 of them last week in the first half against Miami. Now one went for 2 yards. It doesn't technically go down as a block, but it functionally works the same. So special teams better be buttoned up, because Patriots are going to come after you.
And obviously you can't let them steal possession or two.
Oh yeah. Oh God. That's game.
It could get ugly in a heartbeat there. And also, you can't let them jump out to 14-0 or really 13-0. Type lead as well too. This Steelers offense has got to get going right out of the chute. You got to get into a situation like you've done twice this year, where you've scored touchdowns on your first 2 possessions. This just feels like this kind of game. But regardless of what happens on Sunday at Heinz Field, Alex and I will be back on Monday wrapping it on up, and hopefully we're talking about a Steelers win here. In the meantime, and we've got some great emails, we just haven't had time to read all of them. So keep those emails coming, and maybe we'll be able to read some of them on Monday. You can follow me on Twitter at Steelers Depot. You can follow Alex on Twitter at Alex_Kozora. Follow the show at Terrible Podcast. Email the show, theterriblepodcast@gmail.com. Thanks to our great guests this past week, Ben Volen, and of course Melanie Friedlander. Got a lot of great feedback on the Wednesday show. Thank you for that. And as always, thanks for listening to the Terrible Podcast with Dave and Alex.